Hi, I'm Terry Ling with Enigmatic Anomalies, and I'm here in Adams, Tennessee, at the site of the Bell Witch haunting. This place has chilling tales of the Bell Witch, and we're going to check them out. So come along with us. I'm here at the Bell High School, which has been turned into a community center. And in this community center, we are here at the Buzzard Creek Antiques to talk with Greg about some of the hauntings that you might not have heard about. Hi Greg, I understand that you've got some stories about the Bell Witch properties and the Bell Witch Cave. Would you share those with us?
Be glad to. And
Great.
Welcome to Adams, and we're glad that you guys came today and are researching out the history of the Bell Witch. As far as the cave goes, there has been many local folklore about the cave. It is primarily a quartz crystal cave. People claim to hear voices. Having a store up here, we're kind of like the stop that everybody stops to tell, what has happened. We have had rocks returned that have been taken from the cave, and people scared to take them back down to the cave, but actually bring them in here and say, do you mind taking that back down there for us? I've had some bad luck happen since removing that rock. It was pretty interesting. Back during October, we had a documentary on the cave, and it was from the previous owner. It was actually recorded back in the 60s before he had passed. And being able to hear and relive some of his stories on what had happened and what had transpired while he lived there was quite amazing to hear him kind of speak from beyond the grave. Those type of activities are still happening and are still going on. It's still a popular place for people to visit. I would encourage you to go, and anybody to go down there and actually visit with people and to see some of the photos that have been taken around the mouth of the cave, the apparitions that have appeared in these photos.
That's amazing.
And to see some of the stories and to read some of the letters that have come back on people that have visited. It's pretty interesting when you look out there and you research. People from other countries have come here chasing the same legend to see the Bell Witch and to see and to take a little bit of that experience with them. She's still as popular as she was hundreds of years ago.
Well, I understand that on your own personal property, you've actually seen a panther, and there's some story behind that you were sharing with me. Would you share that with us at Enigmatic Anomalies?
Absolutely. Quite a few interesting things have happened. Now, of course, if you look at this as far as the way the crow flies, the Bells own the majority of Adams and Cedar Hill. When you're talking hundreds of acres, you're talking sons owning land. The father, Mr. John Bell, owning land, and all these farms that had grouped together. This farm, and of course what you're in right now, Bell School and Bell Cemetery over there, was actually part of the Bell Farm. That's why it's named what it is. You're standing on Bell land right now that was actually owned by John Bell. Same thing with the cemetery. But this area, the Bells own so much, so you got to kind of step back and remove a lot of the houses that are here now and kind of put yourself in that mindset. So the property that we own actually was part of the Bell Farm. And I had heard these legends and had heard this stuff growing up. Of course, I'm pretty well a lifelong resident up here, 25 years up here, so didn't really think a whole lot about it. And then one day I was hunting and was sitting at a creek bank and actually saw a great big black beast, if you will, bigger than a bobcat, which is known up here, not a black deer, smaller than a deer, but it had the shape and the look of that of a panther. And the interesting thing was is it was running down towards the creek, and it was at a pretty fast stride, and it leaped the creek creek in one bound. And when it crossed over the creek, it was gone. There was no panther there. There was nothing to be seen. After daylight got a little bit better and I could actually see really good, I walked down there and you could see panther prints. You could see basically a paw and claws on one side of the creek, yet there were none on the other. That is one experience that was unusual, and if you've read any of the Bell Witch books, you'll see that they give reference quite a bit to the Black Panther, that had been shot at before. It was a form that the Bell Witch was known to take, was that of a Black Panther. So a lot of people have seen this panther. Now, this area of panthers aren't known for around here. So that was kind of a unique experience that's kind of related.
Well, I would encourage anybody to make a stop here to the Buzzard Antiques and see Greg for yourself. He's got some amazing stories to tell. This particular building, the Bell High School building, actually has several ghosts attached to it. And so I understand that paranormal people come up here and there's all kinds of things. Maybe you'd share with us about the girl, and I believe there's a man as well. And then we could talk about the basement.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had several groups of, throughout the years, paranormal investigators that has come up here. Now, granted, this building has been other things throughout the years, and there's always been groups of paranormal investigators. Once upon a time, after it was a school, then it became an exclusive antique mall. This place was full of antiques. Then the city has taken it back over, and now you can see it's more of kind of a community center. We've got an auditorium that people can use. We've got a hair salon downstairs. We've got a restaurant downstairs. We've got a tea room downstairs. We've got a gift shop next door to me. We've got a party room that people can rent. So it's just kind of a mixed use type of property, not just all antiques. I'm the only antique store that's up here now. But throughout all the years, these paranormal investigators, just because of the age of the building and the way the building looks, have always wanted to come up here. So several different groups have investigated, and all of them have pretty well hit on the same entities. The last group that came up was pretty unique. They hit on the same entities that a group 6-8 years ago hit on. One of them is the little girl in the green dress. She is frequently seen here. And she's frequently seen in the corner of this room.
In this room. Maybe we should walk over there and see if we can invite her. Come on with me. Let's take a walk over there. Show us where you see her.
Sure. I've had people that have always wanted to know who the girl is that's crouching in this corner, and kind of playing a little peekaboo, if you will, around one side and then down the other, and that side, and back and forth, back and forth. That has been told a lot as far as little girl. I know personally, with this room, I think she's attached more so now than maybe before. A lot of times I'll come in and some toys will be off the shelf, some of these vintage toys, and they'll be laying on the floor. And you go, how in the world did something come off of that shelf and come across that table and sit down there on the floor?
Exactly.
So that's kind of neat. Another one is a gentleman. And it wasn't just the other day that I personally saw the gentleman. I've heard people talk about him, kind of like of a school principal, if you will. Always wearing the old vintage three-piece suit with a brown type derby hat on. And I had forgot my phone in here. And I had gone out. I was the last one. I'm usually one of the first ones here and the last ones to leave. And I had forgotten. I'd lock up the building. I said, well, I'm going to run back in and get my phone, and not thinking much about it because there was still just a little bit of light from the street lights coming in. I didn't bother to turn on any lights. I just ran upstairs, when I unlocked the door, grabbed my phone. And when I got to the top of the stairs, there was a gentleman standing there in a three-piece flannel, if you will, suit with a brown derby hat on. And I looked at him and he looked at me, and about that time, then he was just gone.
How'd that make you feel?
Well, it's little, living in this area for so long, you kind of get used to things you see. Hearing the stories, you kind of get used to things. Did it catch me off guard for a second? Absolutely, it did. I don't know who was more shocked, him or me. But he went about his business. I ran in and got the phone, and when I walked out, I looked, and of course, nothing was there. Another spirit that people talk about is an animal, a dog, if you will. And it's kind of unique because with all the ghost hunters, there's a closet below me that this air duct actually goes down to. And every now and then you'll hear an animal barking down in there, and it's just a small closet. Now the little girl with the green dress, there is history about that. She did die in this building. There is documented history where she was a student that was here back when this was a school, and she got locked in a closet, as punishment is what they normally did. And she wound up passing. Not too sure if it was suffocation or what in that closet. And that is a documented death that took place on this. As far as the gentleman,
Do you know what her name was?
I do not know what her name is. And then there's also a lady, and I've never had seen the lady or experienced it, but a lot of the people that have come up said that closer down to the salon and in the tea room that they pick up and sense a lady being down there. The little girl and the gentleman are frequent up here, although the little girl died, which is now the tea room, the closet off of it, because you can see these rooms don't have closet.
Right.
But she actually passed down there, but likes to hang out up here. We had talked about that with some of the locals, and everybody's like, why is that? Well, maybe she just had a favorite teacher up here. Maybe this was somewhere she felt comfortable in it, in this room with this teacher versus downstairs where she received punishment at.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Greg.
Oh, not a problem.
This is great. Now you can see why. You don't want to miss stopping into the Buzzard Creek Antiques.
My name is Michael DeFort, and I'm the lead investigator for the Seekers Paranormal Society. About 7 years ago, I had my first paranormal experience. Now armed with the latest in paranormal equipment, I'm setting out to find the truth. Joining me on my quest to capture evidence is my equipment tech Ramon Vivas and investigator Steve Welton. Take a front seat into our paranormal world as we are driven into the unknown. We are Seekers Paranormal Society.
For hundreds of years, those that have been curious enough to look to the stars in search of something beyond ourselves have been shunned, persecuted, and laughed at. Now, it's time for those curious few to laugh back. Saucer Seekers is a hilarious online comic strip that takes a humorous look at our world of disinformation while facing everyday life from the point of view of those who devote their lives to the search for the truth. The Saucer Seekers! TheSaucerSeekers.com.
One thing you don't want to miss while you're up here at the Buzzard Creek Antiques is the Bell Witch Bad Luck Chair. It's something that's actually from the site that's brought up here, and we're going to let Greg tell us all about it.
Pretty interesting story. This is known as the Bell Witch Bad Luck Chair. This is actually John Bell's chair. That chair stayed in this area for many, many years, and finally it got sold. It went somewhere. No one knew where it had transpired, but only to have surfaced here again. Kind of tell you a little bit about the story. A couple out of Kingston Springs actually donated this chair back to me under the condition that it would never be sold. They wanted this chair to return home. The day that I opened the store, Moss's Coach House, which is the restaurant downstairs, got a phone call from a couple saying, hey, we have a unique piece of y'all's history and want to know if you want it back. Well, Moss's was curious and he says, what is it? Well, it is the Bell Witch Bad Luck Chair. And Moss's came to me and asked me if I would be interested in it, and living up here and knowing a little bit about the history, I've heard about this as a child. And we thought the chair had vanished, disappeared, never ever to return. So of course it intrigued me. Now trying to get open, first day open, and trying to get stuff on the shelves, I told Moss's, I appreciate you taking the phone number down and giving it to me. I will call them just as soon as I get a chance. Finally, a couple hours later, I got a chance, and I wound up calling, and a kid on the other line, it was their grandchild, actually answered the phone, and I asked to speak to the people that were bringing the chair, or that was going to donate the chair, and he said, I'm sorry, they've already left, they're bringing the chair to you. I said, I hadn't even talked to them yet. They're bringing the chair.
It was meant to be.
It was, which led me into my question to him. Okay, well, they're on their way. Tell me about it. Have you had any experiences with the chair? And then he told me, yeah, absolutely. He says, my grandparents brought this chair in. I thought it was hokey, and I was actually making fun of the Bell Witch and saying ha ha. And he said, next thing I know, this chair actually levitates, picks up, and throws me against the wall and slams back down onto the ground.
Ooh.
He said that was the most violent experience that they had. So I was pretty interested after talking to him, but then the people showed up, and that's kind of how the story started to unfold. The chair was here. It was John Bell's chair. And you can actually Google the story, the Bell Witch Bad Luck chair. One of the Bells actually moved away from here, moved and settled in Charlotte, Tennessee, which is not that far from here. It's actually in Dixon County. Lived in a house, had a little general store right across the street. The general store wasn't a general store anymore because pretty much the interstate systems killed Charlotte like it did a lot of the other towns. So the general store closed. They had yard sales and stuff out of there, and actually fixed up a room in there for the grandkids and stuff when they came to sleep. And the chair actually stayed in there. When that lady passed, and the Bell Witch Bad Luck chair story, when you Google it, it will tell you about that part of it. When the people that gave it to me, they actually bought it after the lady that owned the general store had died and had a yard sale. And this was drug out, it was sold, and the people that bought it knew what they were buying because it came with documentation as far as who had the chair, and it came with this Bell Witch book. Now this is a blue book. Now if you research the books, you'll see the green books, you'll see red books, but even our own historian has never seen a blue book.
Oh.
It's an original book, and the interesting thing about it is, as you can see, it's typed. It's not run on a printing press. So the date of this book is unknown. We know when this book was copyrighted. I actually got a copy of the original book in the store there. But to see this with this chair was kind of a unique pairing there.
So neither the book or the chair are for sale at the Buzzard Antiques.
That was part of it, is I had to agree that would not be sold. And a lot of it had to do with the luck that they were having. When they actually got up here, a man and his wife, they came up here and they were telling me a little bit about the story. And they said, that they had this chair for 7 years. Through the course of time that they had it, they had seen apparitions around the chair. Just all of a sudden a misty figure would appear. The chair would start rocking on its own. Sometimes they'd be waking at 3 o'clock in the morning smelling bacon and eggs cooking. That was one of John Bell's favorite breakfasts, was bacon and eggs. They would smell that smell cooking, only to no one to be cooking. Strange things like smoke detectors and the whole house going off, and be awoke and smell a strong pipe or cigar tobacco smell when none of them even smoked. So
very interesting.
And now the chair is kind of at peace, I feel. It's at home. As you can see, I've got it roped off. I don't let anybody sit in it. I don't want to wish any bad luck on anybody. I wouldn't sell it. I wouldn't do anything with it other than to telling the story. The Bell Witch, which was Kate Batts and John Bell and everybody else associated with it. I think they like a little bit of that history told and a little bit of that story told. So here it is, the Bell Witch Bad Luck chair.
Since you've had it sitting here, how has it affected you?
It hasn't affected me. Of course, I haven't sit in it. I'm not a fool. I don't believe in pressing my luck. So, I've heard the stories about it, and I have not sat in it, nor have I let anyone sit in it. At least to my knowledge, no one has. And, I think it's just part of our history up here. It's part of John Bell's history. It's part of the Bell Witch history. And it's a story that needs to be told for generations. So if that chair goes anywhere, it'll probably go into another type of museum.
Thank you so much for that history. You can see it yourself if you visit Adams, Tennessee, and the Buzzard Creek Antiques. To find out what else is available that Greg's got at the Buzzard Creek Antiques, log on to enigmaticanomalies.com.
4,734 UFO sightings in 2007. known species reported by American and British citizens, and only one trusted source of information from some of the top UFO researchers in the world. Exclusive information that cannot be found anywhere else on the planet. Trusted, connected, accurate. The UFOstore.com. Expand your personal library with fast shipping and instant downloadable information from the largest selection of UFO products on the internet by going to theufostore.com. The truth is out there, and the UFOstore.com has it.
When it comes to UFOs, Florida is a hotbed of activities. I'm standing here at the exact location of my first UFO experience, which turned my world upside down and led me to MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. From contact to abductions and sightings, Florida MUFON is dedicated to finding the truth. To learn more, go to meetup.com/Florida MUFON, or to report a sighting, go to MUFON.com. Greg has been gracious enough to take us down to the haunted basement at the Bell High School. Here we go, down into the basement. Oh, this is wonderful. Look at these old walls. So here we are, Greg, downstairs in the basement of the Bell High School.
Y'all have braved it. Several investigators and stuff have been out, and everybody's been too scared to come down here. Some unique stories behind this. At one time before the cafeteria was here, they actually said the kids used to eat down in the basement. And then at some point in time, the boiler systems went in for heat. They actually had a janitor that lived down here that kept the boilers fed. And kept
It's a pretty small area. Where would he have stayed?
I'm guessing on that side of the wall there. This would have all probably been occupied by the old boiler system here. There is a little room off of this too that he may have stayed in for a little bit of warmth. I don't know. You can see now it's just kind of overflow storage.
Yeah, there's something in this room right here.
This is one of those little rooms that don't make a whole lot of sense.
False wall.
It is.
If these walls could just talk.
There were several local, believe it or not, brick companies with the railroad when Adams was so big. A lot of these bricks that are made into these commercial buildings that are still standing was actually manufactured here in Adams. And then they ship bricks all over the country. You'll see even the hand-carved old stone.
I have seen Adams bricks.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Wonderful. Thank you so much for showing us this, sharing this bit of history, this whole day actually. It's really been an honor. Thank you so much.
I'm glad that y'all came to visit.
Florida is a hotbed of activities. I'm standing here at the exact location of my first UFO experience, which turned my world upside down and led me to MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. From contact to abductions and sightings, Florida MUFON is dedicated to finding the truth. To learn more, go to meetup.com/Florida MUFON, or to report a sighting, go to MUFON.com. Oh no.
Known as the Niagara of the South, Niagara Falls, a 125-foot wide curtain of water plunging 60 feet into a boulder-strewn gorge, is the largest waterfall in the United States south of Niagara and east of the Rocky Mountains.
There you go.
Behind me in the distance, you can see the Bell Cemetery, famous in Adams, Tennessee, for the Bell Witch haunting area. And I'm here on the grounds of the actual log cabin right behind me. Oops.